The afternoon sun beat down on Sergeant Maya Johnson as she pulled her blue sedan into the driveway of her suburban home. She hadn't seen this place in 15 months. The sight of the modest two-story house with its small front yard made her smile. After so much time in the dust and danger of her overseas deployment, the quiet street of Oak Ridge Estates looked like heaven. Maya stepped out of her car and stretched her back. She was 32 years old, with dark skin that had grown darker under the foreign sun, and muscles toned from years of military training. Her short, natural hair was just beginning to grow out after keeping it regulation short during deployment. She wore simple civilian clothes, jeans and a plain green t-shirt, but she carried herself with the unmistakable posture of someone who had served. "Home sweet home," she whispered to herself as she pulled her 2 duffel bags from the trunk. The front lawn needed work. The grass had grown too tall in some spots and turned brown in others. Maya made a mental note to fix that tomorrow. For now, all she wanted was a real shower and her own bed. As she approached her front door, she noticed a white envelope stuck between the door and frame. She pulled it free and examined it while fishing her house keys from her pocket. The envelope had the Oak Ridge Estates Homeowners Association logo printed in the corner. Inside her house, Maya dropped her bags in the hallway and opened the letter. She read it while walking through the rooms of her home, making sure everything was as she had left it. "Dear homeowner," the letter began, "our records indicate your property is not in compliance with Section 8.3 of the Oak Ridge Estates Homeowners Agreement regarding lawn maintenance and exterior appearance. Please remedy this situation within 7 days to avoid further action." Maya laughed and tossed the letter onto her kitchen counter. "Nice welcome home," she said to the empty house. She spent the next hour opening windows to air out the stale smell and checking that everything worked. Her friend Susan had stopped by once a month to make sure nothing was wrong, but the house still felt unlived in. Later that evening, Maya sat on her back porch with a cold beer and her phone. She scrolled through her contacts until she found Eric Davis's number and called him. "Sergeant Johnson," Eric answered with a smile in his voice. "Made it home safe?" "All in one piece," Maya replied. "You settling in okay?" Eric Davis had been with Maya's Special Forces unit for 4 years. He was a staff sergeant, 35 years old, and one of the best marksmen Maya had ever worked with. He lived about 20 minutes away in a neighboring town. "Can't complain," Eric said. "My sister's kids won't leave me alone. They think their uncle is some kind of superhero. Little do they know you're just a guy who can't make a decent cup of coffee," Maya joked. They laughed together, the easy laughter of people who had faced danger side by side. "Listen," Maya said. "I'm thinking of having a small barbecue this weekend. Nothing fancy. Just the team if they can make it. You in?" "Wouldn't miss it," Eric said. "Want me to call Olivia and Kevin?" "That would be great. Saturday at 4? After they hung up, Maya felt better. The transition back to civilian life was always strange. Having her team around would help. The next morning, Maya woke early out of habit. The digital clock by her bed read 5:30 a.m. She got up, put on running clothes, and headed out for a 5-mile jog around the neighborhood. The streets were quiet at this hour, with only a few cars leaving for early shifts and the occasional dog walker. When she returned home, sweaty but feeling good, Maya noticed her neighbor, Mrs. Patel, working in her garden next door. "Maya, you're back," Mrs. Patel called out, waving with a gardening glove. She was in her 60s with silver-streaked black hair and a warm smile. "How long have you been home?" "Just got in yesterday," Maya replied, walking over to the low fence between their properties. "You should have called. I would have made you dinner," Mrs. Patel scolded gently. "Next time," Maya promised. "How have things been around here?" Mrs. Patel's smile faded slightly. "Mostly good, but there's a new security company the HOA hired. They're a bit much." "How so?" Maya asked. "Very strict about rules. Some people say they target certain homeowners more than others." Mrs. Patel shrugged. "Just be careful with your lawn. They love to write up violations." Maya nodded, remembering the letter that had greeted her. "I'll keep that in mind. I'm planning to fix up the yard today." After a shower and breakfast, Maya drove to the local home improvement store. She filled a cart with soil, grass seed, flowers, and new gardening tools. Her old ones had probably rusted in the garage. By noon, Maya was hard at work in her front yard. She mowed the lawn, pulled weeds, and planted bright yellow and purple flowers along the walkway. The physical labor felt good after the long flight. As she worked, she noticed a white SUV with Oak Ridge Estate Security written on the side driving slowly down her street. The vehicle passed her house, then circled back 10 minutes later. Maya watched from the corner of her eye as it slowed near her driveway. Two men in tan uniforms looked at her house, then at her. Something about their gaze made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Maya had learned to trust that feeling. During her years in Special Forces, that instinct had saved her life more than once. She straightened up and looked directly at the SUV. The driver quickly accelerated and continued down the street. Strange, Maya thought. But she returned to her gardening, pushing the incident from her mind. That evening, Maya called Olivia Martinez, the team's communications specialist. "Boss, how's civilian life treating you?" Olivia's cheerful voice came through the phone. "So far, so good," Maya replied. "Eric tell you about the barbecue?" "Saturday at 4. I'll be there with bells on," Olivia said. "Kevin's coming too." They chatted for a while about nothing important. Olivia described her sister's new baby. Maya talked about her garden project. It was nice, normal conversation, something they rarely had time for during deployment. Before they hung up, Maya asked, "Hey, you coming over early on Saturday? I could use a hand setting up." "Sure thing. I'll be there around 2, Olivia promised. The next day, Maya spent the morning shopping for the barbecue. She bought steaks, chicken, vegetables for grilling, and plenty of beer. Her team had simple tastes, and after months of military rations, even basic food would seem like a feast. As she carried the groceries into her house, she noticed the white security SUV parked across the street. This time, one of the men was taking pictures of her house with a large camera. When he saw Maya looking, he quickly got back into the vehicle. Maya frowned. Something wasn't right. She put away the groceries, then went to her home office and opened her laptop. She searched for information about Oak Ridge Estate security personnel, but found nothing on the HOA website about a new security company. She called the HOA office number listed on her welcome letter. Oak Ridge Estates Homeowners Association. "This is Diane," a woman answered. "Hi, Diane, this is Maya Johnson at 1423 Maple Street. I just got back in town and noticed security personnel driving around. Is that new?" There was a pause on the line. "Ms. Johnson, we don't have security personnel. We have an arrangement with the local police for extra patrols, but they're in marked police vehicles." Maya's instincts had been right. "So there shouldn't be anyone in a white SUV with Oak Ridge Estate security on the side?" "Absolutely not," Diane said, her voice now concerned. "Has someone been representing themselves as HOA security?" "I think so," Maya replied. "I'll keep an eye out and let you know if I see them again." After hanging up, Maya sat at her kitchen table, thinking. In her line of work, she had learned that coincidences were rare. The fake security, the focus on her house, it felt targeted. Maya reached for her phone again and sent a group text to Eric, Olivia, and Kevin. "Change of plans. Come early tomorrow. There's something we need to discuss." She spent the rest of the day watching through her windows, noting the white SUV passed by 3 more times. Each time, the men inside stared at her property with unusual interest. Maya made sure her doors and windows were locked that night, and she kept her service weapon within reach as she slept. Tomorrow, her team would be here. Together, they would figure out what was going on. Maya had faced threats all over the world. If someone thought they could intimidate her in her own neighborhood, they were about to learn a serious lesson. Maya woke up early on Saturday morning. She had slept lightly, waking at small noises throughout the night. Years in Special Forces had trained her to be alert even in sleep. She made coffee and took her cup to the front window, watching the street as the neighborhood came to life. No sign of the white SUV yet. Maya hoped that her call to the HOA office had scared off whoever was pretending to be security. But something told her they would be back. At 9 in the morning, Maya decided to go for a run. She needed to clear her head before her team arrived. She put on gray running shorts and a black t-shirt, laced up her running shoes and stepped outside. The day was already warm, promising a hot afternoon perfect for a barbecue. Maya stretched on her front lawn, then set off at an easy pace. She ran a familiar route through the neighborhood, passing neat houses with trimmed lawns. Some neighbors waved as she passed. Others were too busy with weekend chores to notice her. She had gone about a mile when she heard a vehicle approaching from behind. Maya glanced back and saw the white SUV with Oak Ridge Estates security painted on its side. Her muscles tensed, but she kept running at the same pace. The SUV pulled alongside her and matched her speed. The passenger window rolled down and a man called out, "Excuse me, ma'am, we need to speak with you." Maya slowed to a stop, turning to face the vehicle but keeping a safe distance. Two men sat inside, both wearing tan uniforms with patches that looked similar to police badges but had HOA printed on them. The driver was tall and thin with light brown hair. The passenger was shorter with a stocky build and a buzz cut. "What can I help you with?" Maya asked, her voice calm but firm. The SUV stopped and both men got out. The taller one approached her while the shorter one stayed near the vehicle. "Frank Thompson, Oak Ridge Estates Security," the tall man said without showing any identification. "We've had some complaints about your property." "What kind of complaints?" Maya asked, keeping her eyes on both men. "Unauthorized landscaping changes," Thompson said, looking down at Maya with cold eyes. "You didn't get approval from the architectural committee before planting those flowers." Maya almost laughed. This was absurd. "I wasn't aware I needed permission to plant flowers in my own yard." "Rules are rules," Thompson said. "We'll need to see some ID to confirm you're a resident." Maya crossed her arms. "I've lived at 1423 Maple Street for 3 years. I don't carry ID when I run." The shorter man stepped forward. "We've had reports of outsiders trespassing in this community," he said. His name tag read, "Peterson. We need to verify your residence status immediately." Maya noticed his hand resting on what looked like a taser holstered at his hip. That was definitely not standard for any real HOA representative. She also noticed other problems with their appearance. Their uniforms didn't match any official HOA documents she had seen. The patches looked homemade. And their aggressive stance was all wrong for people who were supposed to be enforcing lawn regulations. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Maya said, taking a small step back. "I called the HOA office yesterday. They told me they don't employ security personnel." Thompson's face hardened. "We're a new contract. Diane probably hasn't been informed yet." Maya knew he was lying. "Why don't we all walk to my house? I can show you my ID and property documents there." "That won't be necessary," Peterson said, moving his hand to the taser. "We can detain you right here until the police arrive to verify your identity." Maya's training kicked in. She assessed both men quickly. They weren't professionals, but they were dangerous. The taser was a real threat, and she didn't know if they had other weapons. She needed to de-escalate the situation while getting help. "You need to comply now," Thompson snapped, stepping toward her while Peterson unholstered his taser. "Or we'll have to detain you." Maya remembered similar reports she had heard about in nearby communities. Fake security personnel intimidating homeowners, especially minorities. Sometimes they demanded on-the-spot fines for made-up violations. Other times they used intimidation to drive certain residents out of neighborhoods. As Peterson raised his taser, Maya made a decision. She pressed a small button on her fitness watch. It looked like she was just checking the time. But the watch sent a pre-programmed text message to Eric, Olivia, and Kevin with her GPS location and a single word: active. "I think you gentlemen are making a serious mistake," Maya said evenly. "I suggest you lower your weapon immediately." Peterson laughed. "Who do you think you are to give orders?" "Someone who isn't alone," Maya replied. Thompson looked around the empty street. "Looks pretty alone to me." What they didn't know was that Maya's team had arrived early that morning. After her text the previous day, they had taken her concerns seriously. Eric had parked his car 3 blocks away and had been watching the neighborhood from a friend's house. Olivia had set up in a coffee shop with a view of the main entrance. to Oak Ridge Estates. Kevin had been jogging on a parallel street, never far from Maya's running route. They had discussed the suspicious vehicle during a phone call and had decided to implement a basic surveillance protocol. They trusted Maya's instincts. If she thought something was wrong, they would be ready. Maya kept her eyes on Peterson's taser. "Last chance to walk away," she warned them. Thompson laughed and took another step toward her. "You're in no position to make threats." "This is going to end badly for you," Maya said, not as a threat but as a simple statement of fact. Peterson moved the taser toward her. "On the ground now." Maya heard footsteps approaching from behind her. She didn't need to look to know it. It was Eric. His voice came calm and steady. "Everything okay here, Maya?" Thompson spun around, surprised. Eric Davis walked toward them with casual confidence. He wore jeans and a plain blue t-shirt, nothing that identified him as military. But his alert posture and the way he positioned himself told Maya he had assessed the situation perfectly. "This doesn't concern you," Thompson said to Eric. "This is HOA business." "Funny," Eric replied. "I didn't know HOA business involved tasers." Peterson kept the taser aimed at Maya. "Back off, buddy, this woman is trespassing." "That's not true," came a female voice from the other direction. Olivia Martinez jogged up to the scene, her phone in her hand. She was small but athletic, with her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. "I just called the actual HOA. They don't employ security personnel and they certainly don't authorize anyone to carry weapons." Thompson looked between Eric and Olivia, his confidence visibly shaken. "Who are you people?" "Concerned neighbors," came a third voice as Kevin Wright pulled up in his car across the street. He was a tall, broad-shouldered man with a friendly face that now looked anything but friendly. "And my friend at the county sheriff's office says there have been reports of two men impersonating authority figures in neighborhoods like this one, targeting specific homeowners." Peterson's hand trembled on the taser as he realized their situation had changed dramatically. These weren't ordinary residents. 3 against 2, Thompson muttered to Peterson. "Maybe we should call for backup." Maya smiled slightly. "You have no backup to call," she said. "But we do." As if on cue, a police cruiser turned onto the street responding to Olivia's earlier call. The blue and red lights flashed as it approached. Peterson lowered his taser slowly, his face pale. "Here's what's going to happen," Maya said calmly. "You're going to put that taser on the ground. You're both going to show your real identification to the officers, and you're going to explain exactly what you're doing in this neighborhood pretending to be security." Thompson looked like he might run, but Eric had positioned himself to block that option. Kevin had moved to cut off the other escape route. They hadn't made any threatening moves, but their positioning was perfect. A containment formation that showed their training. The police car stopped, and 2 officers stepped out. Maya nodded to her team. They had handled the situation exactly, as they would have on a mission, with coordination, calm, and control. As the police approached, Maya knew this was just the beginning. Whoever had sent Thompson and Peterson might try again with different tactics, but that was a problem for another day. For now, she was grateful that her team had been there when she needed them. "Told you this would end badly for you," Maya said quietly to Thompson as the police officers approached. The police officers approached with caution. One was a tall woman with her hand resting near her holster. The other was a middle-aged man with a serious expression. Their name tags read, Officer Miller and Officer Ramirez. "What's going on here?" Officer Miller asked, looking at the taser in Peterson's hand. "These men were impersonating HOA security," Maya explained. "They threatened me with that taser when I questioned their authority." Thompson tried to speak. "We are security for Oak Ridge Estates." This woman was being uncooperative. "Show me your credentials," Officer Ramirez interrupted. Thompson and Peterson exchanged nervous glances. Peterson slowly placed the taser on the ground as instructed. "I need to get something from the vehicle," Thompson said, taking a step toward the SUV. "Stay where you are," Officer Miller ordered. "We'll check the vehicle." While Officer Miller secured the taser and began questioning Thompson and Peterson, Officer Ramirez went to examine the SUV. Maya and her team stood nearby, watching carefully. Are you okay? Eric asked Maya quietly. Fine, she replied. Good. Timing. We were already in position, Olivia said. After your text yesterday, we figured something might happen. Kevin nodded. When we got your signal, we were ready to move. Officer Ramirez returned from the SUV holding a stack of papers. You need to see this, he said to his partner. They spoke in low voices, examining the documents. Officer Miller then approached Maya. Ms. Johnson, is it? I need to take your statement. Can you tell me exactly what happened? Maya explained how she had first noticed the SUV watching her house, how she had called the HOA office and confirmed they didn't employ security, and how Thompson and Peterson had confronted her during her run. They specifically mentioned my landscaping, Maya said. But I think they were looking for an excuse to confront me. They've been watching my house since I returned from deployment 3 days ago. Officer Miller wrote down Maya's statement. And you three are, she asked, looking at Eric, Olivia, and Kevin. Friends, Eric said simply. We were meeting at Maya's house today and arrived early. Officer Miller seemed to sense there was more to the story but didn't press further. We found some interesting items in their vehicle, she told Maya. Fake badges, a list of addresses with names and notes, and what looks like a script for confronting homeowners. Maya wasn't surprised. A scam? Appears so, Officer Miller said. Your address was on their list. So were several others in this neighborhood and nearby communities. After taking statements from everyone, the police handcuffed Thompson and Peterson and placed them in the back of the patrol car. Officer Ramirez approached Maya and her team. We've had reports of similar incidents in other neighborhoods, he explained. 2 men claiming to be security or HOA representatives, targeting specific homeowners with fake violations, sometimes demanding on-the-spot payments. Were they targeting anyone in particular? Maya asked, though she already suspected the answer. Officer Ramirez hesitated, then nodded. Based on the addresses we found in their vehicle, yes. They seem to be focusing on minority homeowners in upscale communities. The barbecue that afternoon was not what Maya had originally planned. Instead of a casual reunion, it turned into a strategy session. Maya, Eric, Olivia, and Kevin sat on her back patio, discussing the morning's events over grilled steaks and cold beer. This isn't over, Maya said, taking a sip from her bottle. Thompson and Peterson were working for someone. They're just the foot soldiers. Eric nodded in agreement. Their operation was too organized for just 2 guys running a scam. The fake uniforms, the vehicle markings, the list of targets, someone put money into this. But why? Kevin asked. What's the end game? Collecting fake fines hardly seems worth the risk. Olivia, who had been quiet for a while, looked up from her phone. I've been doing some research. There have been similar incidents reported in at least 3 other upscale neighborhoods in this county, all within the last 6 months. Any arrests? Maya asked. 2 cases, Olivia replied. Both times the suspects claimed they were hired through an online job posting. They never met their employer in person. Maya thought for a moment. So either Thompson and Peterson are lying about working alone, or someone is coordinating these scams from a distance. But why target minority homeowners specifically? Kevin asked again. Intimidation, Eric suggested. Make them feel unwelcome, unsafe, maybe hoping they'll move out. Maya remembered something her neighbor Mrs. Patel had said about the new security being strict with certain homeowners. I need to talk to some of my neighbors, see if anyone else has been harassed. We should set up a trap, Kevin said, leaning forward. If Thompson and Peterson have a boss, he might send someone else when they don't report back. Maya considered this. You think they'll try again? If their goal is intimidation, they can't afford to back off at the first sign of resistance, Eric said. They'll try a different approach. The team spent the next hour developing a plan. They would need to monitor Maya's house for a few days, watching for any suspicious activity. Olivia would research similar incidents and try to find connections. Kevin would speak with his contact at the sheriff's office to get updates on the investigation into Thompson and Peterson. I can take the first watch tonight, Eric offered. I'll park down the street and keep an eye on things. And I'll modify your security system, Kevin said. Add a few cameras, upgrade the motion sensors. Maya looked at her team with appreciation. Even out of uniform, they worked together seamlessly. "This isn't what any of you signed up for during your leave," she said. Olivia smiled. "Are you kidding? This is way more interesting than what I had planned." As evening approached, Maya walked her team to their cars. The neighborhood was quiet, with families gathering for dinner and children playing in their yards. It looked peaceful, but Maya now knew that appearances could be deceiving. "Be careful," she told each of them. "Whoever is behind this might not appreciate us interfering." After her friends left, Maya went back inside and locked her doors. She checked her windows and turned on the security system. Then she sat at her kitchen table with her laptop and began her own research. She found news articles about similar incidents in other states. The pattern was always the same: fake security personnel or HOA representatives targeting minority homeowners in upscale communities. Sometimes they issued fake fines. Sometimes they just made threats about violations that didn't exist. The goal seemed to be creating an unwelcoming environment. Maya printed several of the articles and spread them on her table. She was looking for connections, names that appeared multiple times, companies that might be involved. As a sergeant in Special Forces, she had learned to look beyond the obvious enemy to find who was giving the orders. Around 10 o'clock, her phone rang. It was Eric. "Anything?" she asked. "A car drove by your house twice in the last hour," he reported. "Dark sedan, couldn't see the driver clearly, didn't stop, just slowed down. License plate? Couldn't see it, too dark." Maya walked to her front window and looked out at the quiet street. "Keep watching. I have a feeling this is just the beginning." After hanging up, Maya sat on her couch with the lights off, thinking. Tomorrow she would talk to her neighbors, starting with Mrs. Patel. She needed to know if others had experienced similar intimidation. Her military training had prepared her for many things, but fighting an invisible enemy in her own neighborhood was new territory. Still, the principles were the same. Gather intelligence, identify the threat, develop a strategy, execute with precision. Maya smiled to herself in the darkness. Whoever was behind this fake security scam had made a serious mistake when they targeted her house. They thought they had found an easy victim. Instead, they had found a Special Forces sergeant with a team ready to fight back. As she finally went to bed, Maya felt a sense of purpose she hadn't expected to find so soon after returning home. Her team had come together today just like they did on deployment, protecting each other and now their community. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Maya was ready. The fake HOA cops had no idea what they had started. Maya woke up early Sunday morning after a restless night. She checked her phone and saw a text from Eric. "All quiet after midnight. Kevin taking over watch now." She sent a quick thank you message, then got ready for the day. She had neighbors to talk to and information to gather. After a quick breakfast, Maya walked next door to Mrs. Patel's house. The older woman was already in her garden, wearing a wide-brimmed hat to shield her from the morning sun. "Good morning, Maya," Mrs. Patel called when she saw her. "How was your barbecue yesterday?" "Eventful," Maya replied. "Actually, I wanted to ask you something. You mentioned the new security company being strict with certain homeowners. Did they ever bother you directly?" Mrs. Patel's smile faded. She looked around as if checking who might be listening, then motioned for Maya to come closer. 2 weeks ago," she said quietly, "2 men in a white SUV stopped while I was getting my mail. They said my garden ornaments violated HOA rules. When I asked which rule, they couldn't tell me. They just said I should remove them or face fines." "Did you report it?" Maya asked. "To whom? The HOA? The police?" Mrs. Patel shook her head. "I didn't want trouble. I just moved the ornaments to the backyard." Maya felt anger rising in her chest. "Mrs. Patel, those men weren't real security. They were scammers targeting certain homeowners." Mrs. Patel didn't seem surprised. "I suspected something wasn't right. They were too aggressive for people just enforcing garden rules. Did they give you their names or show any identification?" "They said their names were Frank and Carl. No last names, no ID." Mrs. Patel described them. and Maya recognized the descriptions of Thompson and Peterson. "Would you be willing to talk? To the police?" Maya asked. "They arrested those men yesterday for threatening me with a taser." Mrs. Patel looked shocked. "A taser? Yes, of course I'll talk to the police." Maya spent the next few hours going door to door, speaking with her neighbors. She focused on the minority families in the neighborhood, and a pattern quickly emerged. 6 different homeowners had been approached by Thompson and Peterson in the past month. All had been accused of vague violations and subtly threatened. By Sue. Mid-afternoon, Maya had compiled a list of incidents and witnesses. She called Officer Miller with the information. The officer sounded impressed. "This is extremely helpful, Ms. Johnson," Officer Miller said. "Thompson and Peterson are still being held, but they're not talking. Your witness statements might give us leverage." "Any leads on who they're working for?" Maya asked. "Not yet. The SUV was registered to a shell company. We're still investigating." After the call, Maya texted her team to meet at her house again. They needed to update their plan based on the new information. Olivia arrived first, carrying her laptop. "I found something interesting," she said as soon as Maya opened the door. 3 of the neighborhoods with similar incidents have something in common. They all recently rejected buyout offers from the same real estate developer. "Which developer?" Maya asked, leading Olivia to the kitchen table where she had spread out her research. "Westridge Properties," Olivia said, opening her laptop to show Maya. "They've been buying up land all around this county for a new development project, but they need large connected areas and some neighborhoods have refused to sell." Eric and Kevin arrived a few minutes later. Maya briefed them on what she had learned from the neighbors, and Olivia shared her discovery about Westridge Properties. "So the theory is that this developer is trying to scare certain homeowners into selling?" Eric asked, frowning. "It fits," Kevin said. "Make minority residents feel unwelcome and unsafe. They sell and move out. Property values drop. More people sell. Eventually the developer can buy the whole neighborhood for much less." "But that's illegal," Maya said. "Housing discrimination, intimidation, fraud." "Only if they get caught," Olivia pointed out. "And so far they've kept their distance. Thompson and Peterson probably don't even know who they're really working for." The team discussed their options. They could take their theory to the police, but without direct evidence linking Westridge Properties to the fake security, it was just speculation. They needed proof. "We need to draw them out," Eric suggested. "Make them think their plan is working." "How?" Maya asked. "You put your house up for sale," Kevin said. "Make it look like their intimidation tactics worked. See who comes calling." Maya considered this. "It might work, but it could take too long. We don't have weeks to wait for a response." "There's a faster way," Olivia said slowly. "What if we make them think you're not just selling, but that you're scared, that you know something about their operation and want out quickly?" "You mean make myself a target?" Maya asked. "A tempting target," Olivia clarified. "Someone they need to deal with immediately." The plan they developed was risky but had potential. Maya would make a show of packing boxes and loading her car, appearing to leave in a hurry. She would also make a few calls from her home phone, which they assumed might be monitored, mentioning that she had evidence about the fake security and was going to the authorities. Eric, Olivia, and Kevin would maintain surveillance around the neighborhood, watching for any response. They would also set up recording devices to capture any confrontations. "This is all assuming they're still watching the house," Maya pointed out. "They are," Kevin confirmed. "I spotted the dark sedan again this morning. Different driver, same car." The team spent the rest of the day preparing. Kevin installed small cameras around Maya's property. Olivia set up a system to record Maya's phone calls. Eric mapped out observation points around the neighborhood. As evening approached, Maya began the performance. She brought empty boxes from her garage into the house, making sure she was visible through the windows. She made several trips carrying boxes back out to her car. Then she made a call from her home phone to Olivia's cell. "I don't feel safe here anymore," Maya said loudly. "Not after what happened with those fake security guys. I'm going to stay with my cousin for a few days." Did you call the detective about what you found? Olivia asked, playing her part. Not yet. I'll bring those documents to the police station tomorrow. I want to make copies first. After hanging up, Maya continued packing boxes. Through her window, she saw a car drive slowly past her house. It was the dark sedan Kevin had mentioned. Shows. Working, she texted her team. Sedan just passed by. As night fell, Maya turned off most of the lights in her house but left the one in her home office on. She moved around the office, occasionally passing in front of the window, making it look like she was gathering documents. Around 10 o'clock, her phone rang. It was Eric. Two men just parked down the street. They're walking toward your house. Front or back? Maya asked, her body instantly alert. Looks like they're going around to the back. Maya moved silently through her darkened house to the kitchen, which had a view of the backyard. She could see two shadows moving across the lawn toward her back door. I see them, she whispered into the phone. Camera 3 should have a good view. Got them on video, Kevin confirmed on the group call. Olivia and I are moving into position. Maya ended the call and slipped her phone into her pocket. She moved to a position beside the back door, hidden from view but ready to act. Her heart rate was steady, her breathing controlled. This was familiar territory now. She heard a soft scratching at the lock. These men were more professional than Thompson and Peterson. They were trying to break in quietly rather than confronting her directly. Maya waited, listening to the soft sounds of the lock being picked. She had deliberately left it unlocked, but they didn't know that. Let them think they were in control, the bias. Door opened slowly and two men slipped inside. They were dressed in dark clothes, wearing gloves. In the dim light, Maya could see one had a gun in his hand. Check the office first, one whispered to the other. That's where the light is on. What? About her? The second man asked. If she's here, make sure she doesn't leave. The boss wants to know what evidence she has. They moved through the kitchen toward the hallway. Maya stayed perfectly still, letting them pass. As soon as they were in the hallway, she sent a text. Two inside, armed, moving to office. Within seconds, Maya heard the front door open. Eric entered silently, followed by Olivia and Kevin. They had planned this carefully. 3 entrances, 3 team members. Maya would handle the kitchen exit. Maya followed the intruders down the hallway, staying in the shadows. They reached her office and found it empty. She's not here, one said, sounding frustrated. He began searching through papers on her desk. Looking for something? Maya asked from the doorway. The men spun around, the one with the gun raising it, toward her. Before he could aim, Eric appeared behind Maya, his own weapon drawn. I wouldn't, Eric said calmly. The intruders froze, suddenly realizing they were surrounded. Olivia stood at the other doorway to the office, and Kevin was by the window. Drop the gun, Maya ordered. Slowly. The armed man hesitated, then carefully placed his weapon on the floor. Now, Maya said, let's talk about Westridge Properties and why they're so interested in my neighborhood. The 2 intruders stood frozen in Maya's office, surrounded by her team. The one who had put down his gun looked nervous, while the other seemed angry. Neither responded to Maya's question about Westridge Properties. We should call the police, Olivia said, her phone already in her hand. Wait, the unarmed man said quickly. Maybe we can work something out. Maya studied him carefully. Unlike Thompson and Peterson, these men seemed more professional. They had broken in quietly and methodically. They were hired muscle, not neighborhood intimidators. Who sent you? Maya asked directly. The men exchanged glances but remained silent. Let me help you understand your situation, Maya said calmly. We have you on video breaking into my house with a weapon. That's a felony. We have evidence connecting you to earlier intimidation in this neighborhood. Also on video. The police are already building a case. The armed man finally spoke. We don't know anything about any intimidation. We were just told to retrieve some documents. By whom? Eric asked, his weapon still trained on them. More silence. Kevin stepped forward. We know about Westridge Properties. We know they want this land for development. And we know someone has been trying to scare minority homeowners into selling. The unarmed man looked surprised at the mention of Westridge. That got your attention, Maya noted. So I'm right. Westridge is behind this. We just do jobs, the armed man said flatly. We don't ask questions. Maya nodded to Olivia, who made the call to the police. While they waited, Maya's team kept the intruders covered and separated them for questioning. Maya took the unarmed man to the kitchen while Eric stayed with the armed one in the office. Kevin and Olivia monitored the perimeter of the house in case there were others. What's your name? Maya asked the unarmed man. Joe, he replied after a moment. Well, Joe, you're in serious trouble. Breaking and entering conspiracy, possibly attempted assault. That's years in prison. Joe looked down at the table. But, Maya continued, if you cooperate, tell us who hired you and why. Maybe things go easier for you. Joe seemed to be weighing his options. I don't know much, he finally said. We get our jobs through a guy named Vince. He's a fixer, handles problems for people with money. And Vince works for Westridge? Joe shrugged. Maybe. He mentioned them once or twice, said they had big plans for this area. What was your job tonight? Find any documents you had about the security operation, photos, notes, whatever, and find out what you knew. By any means necessary? Maya asked. Joe didn't answer, which was answer enough. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Officer Miller and Officer Ramirez were back, along with 2 more officers. They seemed impressed by how Maya and her team had handled the situation. So you set a trap, Officer Miller said as the intruders were being handcuffed. We had a theory, Maya explained. I needed to confirm it. That was risky, Officer Ramirez pointed out. These men were armed. Maya glanced at her team. We've faced worse odds. The officers took statements from everyone and collected the video evidence Kevin had recorded. They also took Maya's research on Westridge properties and the pattern of intimidation in the neighborhood. This is solid work, Officer Miller told Maya. With this and the statements from your neighbors, we have enough to get search warrants for Westridge offices. These men will probably talk once they're facing serious charges. After the police left with the intruders, Maya's team gathered in her living room. The adrenaline was wearing off and they were all feeling the late hour. Well, Eric said, that was more excitement than I expected on leave. Olivia laughed. Just like old times, except with less sand. And better food, Kevin added with a smile. Maya looked at her friends with deep appreciation. Thank you, she said simply. I couldn't have done this without you. That's what teams are for, Eric replied. We've got your back always. They stayed together that night, taking turns keeping watch despite believing the immediate threat was over. Years in special forces had taught them never to let their guard down completely. The next morning, Maya received a call from Officer Miller. We got them, the officer said, her voice triumphant. The 2 men from last night started talking immediately. They gave us Vince, who gave us his contact at Westridge. We've made arrests and seized documents from the Westridge offices. So, it was them behind everything, Maya asked? Absolutely. They had a whole operation targeting minority homeowners in neighborhoods they wanted to acquire. The fake security was just one tactic. They also spread rumors about crime increasing, messed with property values, even created fake noise complaints. All to drive people out and buy the land cheap, Maya said, shaking her head in disgust. Exactly. The CEO is claiming he didn't know, that it was a rogue employee, but we found emails suggesting otherwise. After ending the call, Maya shared the news with her team over breakfast. They were satisfied that their work had paid off, but Maya still felt there was more to do. The immediate threat is gone, she said, but the damage to the community remains. People were scared, intimidated in their own homes. What are you thinking? Eric asked, recognizing the look on Maya's face. I'm thinking we need to bring this neighborhood together, help people feel safe again. Over the next week, Maya and her team worked with the legitimate HOA to organize a community meeting. All the residents of Oak Ridge Estates were invited. Officer Miller and Officer Ramirez attended to explain the situation and answer questions. The beer meeting was held in the community center on a Saturday afternoon. Nearly every household was represented. Maya was surprised by the turnout. Before we begin, Diane from the HOA said, "I want to thank Sergeant Maya Johnson and her friends for uncovering this scheme. Without their efforts, many more people might have been victimized." Maya felt uncomfortable with the attention but nodded in acknowledgement. Officer Miller then took the floor, explaining the arrests and the investigation. Westridge Properties had a plan to acquire this entire neighborhood for a new development project, she explained. When normal buyout offers didn't work, they resorted to intimidation tactics, specifically targeting minority homeowners. A murmur ran through the crowd. Mrs. Patel raised her hand. "Will they go to prison?" "The CEO and 3 executives are facing multiple felony charges," Officer Miller confirmed, "as are the men who carried out the intimidation." After the officers finished their presentation, Maya stood up. She hadn't planned to speak, but she felt compelled to address her neighbors. "What happened here was wrong," she said simply. "No one should feel unwelcome or unsafe in their own home, in their own community. But something good can come from this. We now know our neighbors better. We can look out for each other." Maya proposed creating a real neighborhood watch program, one that would bring people together rather than divide them. She suggested community events, shared resources, and better communication between residents. "We're stronger together," she concluded. "That's what I learned in the military, and it's true here too." The response was overwhelmingly positive. People volunteered to help organize the watch program. Others offered to host block parties and cultural exchanges. Even those who had been considering selling their homes decided to stay. 3 weeks later, Maya stood on her front lawn, watching children play in the street while their parents chatted nearby. The first neighborhood block party was in full swing. Tables of food lined the sidewalk, representing the diverse cultures of Oak Ridge Estates. Eric, Olivia, and Kevin had returned to their units, their leave time over. But they had promised to visit again soon. Maya missed them but was proud of what they had accomplished together. Mrs. Patel approached, carrying a plate of homemade samosas. "This was a wonderful idea," she said, smiling at the scene. "I've lived here 5 years and never knew half these people." "It's a start," Maya replied, accepting a samosa. "Your team," Mrs. Patel said thoughtfully. "You work well together, like a family." Maya watched the children playing tag, the adults laughing and sharing stories. "Yes," she said, "that's exactly what we are." As the sun began to set, Maya looked at her house, her home, and felt a sense of peace she hadn't expected to find so soon after returning from deployment. The fake HOA cops had meant to drive her away. Instead, they had helped her find where she truly belonged.